Thank you very much for Dorit Salinger, and of course the regulatory space is posing a lot of challenges all over the world. One of the things that are on discussion is whether insurance should be compulsory, but I believe we still have some way until we get there. And after we heard the regulator, we would like to hear the side of the insurance companies, and I'm very, very pleased to invite our next speaker, Shay Simkin. And before, I just want to say some words about you, because we are very happy that you joined us. Shay Simkin is the Managing Director of Howden Insurance Brokers, Israel, and Global Head of Cyber for Howden. And Shay has more than 30 years of experience in the insurance broking industry, serving in senior management roles both in Israel and in Europe. Shay is a global expert and a pioneer in the cyber insurance space. As the founder of insurtech.com back in 1997, he was one of the first insurance brokers to introduce cyber and technology insurance solutions by drafting cyberspace and technology insurance policies. This is really a long time ago. As a result, Shay has become a world expert in cyber liability insurance and is currently leading Howden Group's cyber liability initiatives worldwide. So we are really excited to hear what you have to say, Shay. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Anita, for the introduction. Quite an expectation after this long introduction. So what I'm going to try and do this in the 10 minutes that Ram gave me, which is, it's nothing. I'll try to give you a bit of I'll try to give you a bit of the global perspective of cyber insurance, mainly some of the issues that we have seen in the past years, and maybe perhaps some of the things that we are looking forward to see in the coming years. Since I'm running around different offices of Howden, I do have some kind of a global perspective, so I'll try and transfer that to you. I will start from the point that Ram took off, and I want to show you a short video, it's a minute plus, of a very brave man, which is the chairman of Maersk, which is the largest shipping company in the world. And listen carefully to what he says.
We were hit by the non-patch virus. In fact, that meant that we were actually collateral damage of a probably a state attack situation. The impact of that was that we basically found that we had to reinstall an entire infrastructure. We had to install 4,000 new servers, 45,000 new PCs, 2,500 applications, and that was done in a heroic effort over 10 days. Normally, I come from the IT industry, you would say that's going to take 6 months. It took 10 days, heroic effort, and I can only thank the employees and partners that we had on doing that. Now, imagine a company where a ship with 10 to 20,000 containers enter a port every 15 minutes, and for 10 days you have no IT. It's almost impossible to even imagine. And we actually overcome that problem with human resilience. People were able to overcome. We only had a 20% drop in volumes, so we managed 80% of that volume manually, basically. And customers, by the way, were great contributors to overcoming that. Maybe coming to the learning. This was a very significant wake-up call for an organization like A.P. Møller-Mærsk. We could say a very expensive one. It cost us between $250 to $300 million. And yet I argue that it was a very important wake-up call.
So, as you can see, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Cyber, and this is a very important slide for everyone, even if you're coming from the insurance industry, if you're a client, if you're an insurance broker. Cyber is now, this is a matrix done every year by, this one is done by Allianz, but Lloyd's does the same thing every year. And it rates what are the 10 major risks facing every business. This year in 2018, cyber-related risks are number 3, and supply chain risks are number 1. I think that supply chain and cyber risks are pretty much the same now. So one of the 3 major risks facing every business, and my question to everybody sitting here and to my colleagues, brokers, insurers, business people, can you look at this slide and say, well, I'll deal with cyber-related issues in 2019, 20, maybe 21. I will buy cyber insurance in 2020. I think that if you're a risk manager, if you're a CEO, if you're a board member, or anybody sitting and looking at this slide, you have to start looking inside your company, see what you're doing to handle these types of risks. And coming back again to NotPetya, because I think NotPetya was a game changer. It was a game changer not because of the magnitude of the damage caused to these companies. And I think Ram touched a little bit on the financial issues that Maersk was facing, or Maersk was facing. I think it was a turning point because I know Maersk quite well, and I've spoken to them before that event that they had. And one of the biggest issues that they were facing and that we're facing was, how do you quantify risk? How do you quantify business interruption? And I'm sure that when you speak to a lot of these companies around the world, and we speak to them, these big companies that are facing these types of risk, and you ask them, well, let's try and quantify the business interruption risks that you have. It is very difficult to do it. And if you were sitting with the risk managers of Maersk and saying, well, let's see what will be the precautions of such an event causing you damage, I'm sure that nobody would have, in his wildest dream, think that it would go above $300 million, and now they're speaking that it will be close to $500 million. And we saw how the Target event and other events evolved over time. Maersk is an interesting one. It was $1.4 billion of damage. By the way, Maersk didn't have a cyber insurance policy. They bought cyber insurance policy a few months ago. It's a very costly one. They didn't manage to buy as much as they wanted. They only bought $250 million cyber insurance. Maersk, by the way, had cyber insurance, but it was very small. It was relatively small to the damage that they had. It was $150 million of cover, and they're talking now about maybe trying to hit their combined general liability, their property insurances. It's going to be an interesting one for the insurance industry, because a lot of the damages as we saw in the Maersk event, that they needed to replace a lot of hardware, software, some of these issues that they're going to try and claim under their property insurance. Well, we can't move forward without looking at 2018 and the last few months and what GDPR did to our clients worldwide. I was quite involved in some of the discussions before in the amendments of some of these things that came out in May, and there were a lot of discussions around 72 hours and what are we going to do? It's too short, it's too long. It's out there. May is behind us, and a lot of our clients are asking us, what are the implications of the GDPR on the insurance? Are fines and penalties insured under the policy? Well, we don't know yet, okay? Since fines and penalties are not insurable by law in Europe, and some of these fines will be civil fines rather than criminal fines, we may find that somebody will claim it against the insurance company because it's civil fines. We don't know. Definitely in the beginning, and we think that regulators in the first year or 2 years following will not allow insurance companies to come out with some kind of cover for this for fines and penalties because they want those companies that will be fined to feel that it will come out of their pocket. We already have, I read this morning about an English company called Carphone something, and they already had an issue yesterday or the day before, and they are probably going to be one of the first ones to be fined. One more interesting thing about GDPR is what is GDPR going to do to the cyber insurance? Now, the whole global, and there are lots of numbers around this room, what is the size, the actual size of the cyber insurance industry, 4 billion, 5 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion? Well, it doesn't really matter because all of you and all of your clients and my clients and the future clients will buy cyber insurance in the next 12 to 24 months. So it's going to be a huge market. And if you don't see the potential of this market, well, try and think about household insurance with cyber insurance, businesses with cyber insurance, car insurance with cyber insurance. So everything will be cyber insurance. I think it's going to be a huge market. Right now, 80% or 85% of the market, of the cyber insurance market, is in the United States. It's in the United States mainly because of regulations, because of HIPAA regulations, because of notification regulations in the United States. So look what it did to the US market, and just imagine what it's going to do to the European market or to companies that are dealing in Europe. It's going to be a big catalyst for companies. By the way, the Far East is waking up as well, so we are starting to see a lot of business coming out of the Far East. It's a little bit different, but we see business coming basically from every part of the world. So one more thing before we move on to the conclusion. I think that the IoT or the Internet of Things is going to do a major change to the way we look at cyber insurance. I just touched upon some of the things, but I call it the insecurity of things, because when you start looking at the things that the future things that we will be using, so your house will be fully connected to the web. So we may have the first death by a toaster, and everything will be connected. So you will need some kind of a cyber insurance or cyber risk management in your home. You will still have a lot of valuables at home. You will still have paintings and expensive jewelry and expensive watches. But imagine if a hacker went into your house through some of the devices and just saw when you are on vacation and you're not at home. He learns the patterns when you leave home, when you come home. It will be quite easy to break into. So we are going to need some kind of a cyber insurance in our homes. We're going to hospitals. We're going to use smart TVs. Everything that we use today will be connected to the web, posing a lot of very big risks to us and to our clients. So cyber insurance is definitely going to grow. Last thing I want to touch on, and some of the things that you see here, that things that you are already that you will, and maybe we will touch a little bit on when we do the panel and the questions. But one of the issues that you're asking is why is cyber insurance not growing at the pace that we think that it should be growing? And probably the biggest reason that cyber insurance is not growing is it's us to blame. Because in order to sell cyber insurance, it's not enough to know insurance. In order to sell cyber insurance, you need to be an expert in technology, which means that we need to grow a new breed of cyber brokers, cyber underwriters, people that will understand technology and will be able to sit with a CISO, will be able to sit with anybody which has a deep knowledge in cyber-related risk and IT and OT and the rest of it, and really have a deep conversation about what are the risks facing the business. So don't even try to go into selling cyber insurance if you are not, if you don't understand technology very well. And this is one of the hurdles that we are seeing to the growth of cyber insurance. And one of the things that we are trying to do in order to try and speed up those things is to actually try and find some certainty in the uncertainty that we have. So later on you will see, in the next session, you will see a product that we are launching together with Checkpoint, which is AIG, Checkpoint, and us, which is aimed to help us, even without a very knowledgeable broker, sell cyber insurance to the small and medium-sized businesses. So thank you very much. I'm sure it's such a short presentation, but you can definitely see me here in the, after the presentation and talk. And the last thing, it's for those of you who look at the opportunity of cyber insurance and you're from the insurance industry or you're not from the insurance industry, I just want to tell you that the train has left the station, but you can still catch it at the first stop. So if you come out of this session and say, I really want to be a cyber insurance broker, or I really want to do something around the cyber insurance, it's not too late. Thank you very much.